Hello and welcome to coverage of the semifinals here at Grand Prix Oakland. Maria Bartholdi and Reed Duke hanging out with you in the booth here this round. Casis on Is It Phoenix versus Matt Nass on Krart Clan Ironworks. First seed, fifth seed here in our semis. All right, Reed, set up this matchup for us. Anybody favored?
It's close. I think either of these decks can win. Similar to Is It Phoenix against any combo deck, I think the combo deck, the one that favors pure speed, is going to be ahead in game number one because the Is It Phoenix deck really has a limited amount of disruption in the main deck. It's usually restricted to things like Is It Charm. But after sideboarding, things get a lot closer, where the Is It Phoenix deck can bring in permission spells, Ancient Grudge, Ceremonious Rejection, Surgical Extraction, a wide variety of tools to slow down and perhaps shut down the Ironworks deck. So for game number one, I think it's squarely in Matt Nass's favor, probably a bit in his favor despite being on the draw. And then after sideboarding, it's going to be a lot more of a contest.
Okay, well, here we go, starting things off. A bit of sculpting of Casis' hand. Here we have a Metamorphose, Chromatic Sphere in play for Matt Nass. Our KCI player, Is It Phoenix. You're going to draw a card, and we're going to start chaining these Metamorphoses together, which sometimes leads to pretty explosive, fun stuff happening.
So the best thing Casis can do in game number one is just put on a fast clock. So that means he's looking for one of these really strong draws with multiple Arclight Phoenixes, with a quick Thing in the Ice transformation, maybe Crackling Drake, but that's getting into the realm where it might be too slow to race the Ironworks deck. So, this was not a disaster this turn because he did sculpt his hand and he's got Thing in the Ice ready to come down for next turn as a potential threat, but he didn't have the Arclight Phoenixes that he needed to make this a really, really good opening hand. So Matt Nass surely breathing a sigh of relief. He's going to expect that he can untap for turn 4 and probably turn 5 as well.
There's a Mind Stone for Matt Nass and a Chromatic Star here as he plays Darksteel Citadel as his land drop for the turn. Back over to Casis. So, Reed, would you say in the case of Phoenix versus KCI Game 1, kind of the only way Phoenix can do it is if they really have that explosive turn that we're talking about?
Yeah, I think if both players have average draws, the Ironworks deck is going to win. But, that doesn't always happen. Sometimes the Is It Phoenix deck produces that super impressive draw where they're unloading massive damage on turn 3. And on the other side of the coin, sometimes the Ironworks deck just has a bad draw. It misses a land drop, doesn't find Ironworks, whatever it might be. Doesn't look like either of those things are going to happen in this game, and we might see Matt Nass win or at least establish a colossal advantage on this turn right here already on turn 3.
Krart Clan Ironworks, the deck's namesake, hitting the table for Matt Nass this turn. Ichor Wellspring here. Going to draw him some cards. Net him some mana thanks to that Krart Clan Ironworks, which is really the card on which the back of this whole deck spins. 4 copies of KCI in our top 8 this weekend, which is the highest concentration we've ever seen. And, the question I asked myself when this deck first kind of appeared on the scene was, how long will it take until more and more people start getting proficient with this deck?
So, Maria, for the viewers that haven't been with us all weekend, can you remind us what your bold claim was about Krart Clan Ironworks on your podcast?
Absolutely. So I made the bold claim that Krart Clan Ironworks would top 8 every single modern GP in 2019 and win 2 of them. And so far, I feel like pretty great about this claim. I mean, Matt Nass, my hopes can ride on him. We've got another KCI player still alive as well, but certainly the first box ticked here, Reed.
Well, it's one of those things, Maria. You have to be careful not to win in too dramatic fashion.
That's
because
true.
Ironworks could wind up being a victim of its own success here if it's just consistently putting up results like this. We could see a banning, we could see dramatic reactions from the player base, packing stony silences for next week. But yeah, so far Ironworks really the story of the tournament and seems to be virtually unstoppable so far.
I mean, is Stony Silence enough, though? You know what I mean? Do you have to pack 4 of them, and then you've got to draw it within, like, the first 4 turns?
Oh, yeah, this is not a problem that you put a Band-Aid on. This is something where you choose your archetype, you completely restructure your deck, and you come with a concerted game plan, a multi-dimensional game plan to beat Ironworks, or you're going to lose. So we're talking 3 or 4 Stony Silences alongside a fast clock and other disruption, graveyard hate, artifact kill, everything.
I like it. It doesn't just take a Band-Aid to stop this. All right, thing in the ice here, going to be transformed for Eli Casis after his flurry of spells this turn for him. Arclight Phoenix 1 coming back from the graveyard. So we're getting a big hit here.
Yeah, so Casis putting up a good fight. He's chipping in for 10 here, meaning this is really it for Matt Nass. He has to win this turn, but I love the way that Matt Nass plays this deck, and he's so experienced that he has this internal gauge of how likely or unlikely it is to win on any given turn from any given position. And you'll see Matt Nass make these calculated decisions that rookie pilots of Krug Clan Ironworks get wrong. But Matt here choosing to pass the turn on turn 3 and set up for a more robust position because of that specific combination. Well, my opponent's giving me enough time to play like this, and I know that my odds of winning are dramatically higher if I pass the turn once than if I try to go for it on thin margins here.
Absolutely. Casis able to knock Nass down to 9, but looks like it's not going to be enough. We are 1 turn off here. And the way that we've talked about KCIL weekend, too, is that it tends to be like a half turn or 1 turn faster than a lot of other combo decks, which Izzet Phoenix is not technically in the format, and that can be to just a slight edge that it needs to bring it over the top.
Yeah, Ironworks can win on the 4th or 5th turn of the game with very high consistency, and it often wins on the 3rd turn. If you have a good draw involving a Mox Opal or a Mind Stone, it's very, very realistic to win on the 3rd turn. Matt Nass could have gone for it on turn 3 if he had felt a sense of urgency to do so. Instead, he's going to pass and win very, very comfortably on turn 4.
Matt Nass takes down game 1 here in our semis versus Eli Casis. That is 1 to the good for Krug Clan Ironworks and the master Matt Nass. Playing this deck, he's piloted to 2 Grand Prix championships. Can he make it a 3rd? Eli Casis, by the way, playing for Platinum if he makes it all the way to the finals today.
That's right, yeah, so he's 1 match away from achieving Platinum status in the Pro Players Club. Matt Nass, as you set up for us, is on the verge of doing something unprecedented in Magic history, which is to take a 3rd Grand Prix title in the same format with the same deck in the course of what, a year or 14 months, something like that?
Oh yeah, it's not been long. That's incredible. I didn't know that was on the line too.
Yeah, I mean, the list of players that have even won 3 Grand Prix titles is relatively short, and to do so all with the same constructed deck is very rare. Or perhaps,
Yeah.
The claim that I made is that it has not happened before.
Right.
Which someone can correct me if I'm wrong about that, but
Eli Casis, 35 years old. Previous Magic compliments. This is 7th Grand Prix top 8. Congratulations there.
Mm-hmm.
Grand Prix champion. He said what deck, to answer which deck did you play this weekend and why, he said, Arclight, it tested well and did all the fun things. It certainly seems fun when he plays it. And we get those explosive turns. Best card out of the sideboard, what do you think he said, Reed?
Ancient Grudge?
Blood Moon.
Blood Moon, all right.
Closing out unwinnable games. So if he gets all the way up to the finals, Platinum, he says, is on the horizon for him there. And bragging rights, of course.
Yeah, it's awesome to see Eli Casis having so much success. This is a player who's been around for a long time and been very good for a long time. He's been, sort of a figure in the Magic community. He's a dealer. He buys and sells cards. But he's only really had a tremendous amount of success on the Pro Tour in the last couple of years. So a player that's always had the talent, finally making the push in terms of playing a higher volume of tournaments, getting the breaks when he needs them, and now he's 1 win away from Platinum, which is something that I think he's a player that's good enough to deserves to be in that and deserves to be in that echelon.
That's awesome. Matt Nass, 26 years old. He's part of the newly created MPL, along with yourself, Reed, content creator over at channelfireball.com as well. 12th Grand Prix top 8. 5 wins under his belt.
5 wins already before this.
Yes.
Wow, so rarefied air for Matt Nass.
Best card out of his sideboard and why? What do you think it was?
Psymaster Thopterist.
Lightning Bolt.
All right, I believe it.
Says, bought me a lot of time to combo. And if he wins this whole thing, not only is it probably unprecedented, as you described, Reed, but also a chance to repeat his first Grand Prix win, which was in Oakland in 2010.
That's great. Cool stuff.
Yeah. All right, so we talked about this a little bit at the start of the matchup. How does this potentially change, in summary, here after sideboarding for Ely, who was pretty well disadvantaged in Game 1?
It's going to get a lot better for Ely. So he maintains that fast clock. Those Arclight Phoenixes, those things in the ice, they aren't going anywhere. But what changes is he gets to replace some of those really ineffective removal spells with dedicated anti-combo hate. That means Ancient Grudge, Ceremonious Rejection, Surgical Extraction. And what's really, really special about this Is It Phoenix deck is it turbos through its library at such a fast pace. It sees so many cards that its sideboard cards, their impact is amplified. You get to see them in a higher concentration of games, and that means they just do more work for you. So if Casis can actually put together one of those fast clocks and have for example, two pieces of disruption, that's a great, great recipe for beating Krugclan Ironworks. Now, things are not going well for him here as he's mulliganing down to 5, but with the right combination of cards, getting some incidental value from returning Arclight Phoenixes, don't count him out completely.
So an unfortunate couple of mulligans here for Casis, but as you mentioned, this deck's ability to kind of just rifle through itself at great speed helps it mulligan at least a little bit.
Once again, that is the merge boot is closing at 6 o'clock.
Matt Nass happy with the opening hand here, and currently up a game over Is It Phoenix and Ely Casis. And here we are drawing 5.
Okay, looks good to me.
Scry here, and leaves it on top. Land coming in tap for Casis here, turn 1 over to Matt Nass. Will Ely Casis be able to shut down Nass's combo machine?
Well, I'll tell you what, mulliganing to 5 is a very bad start, but he's got all the pieces here. He's got 2 lands, Thing in the Ice, Surgical Extraction. So that means his mana's there, his clock is there, his disruption is there. That's all he needs, at least in theory, to have a good chance of beating Ironworks. So we'll see what the top of his library can deliver in terms of chaining together these cantrips, these Thought Scours and Manamorphoses to transform Thing in the Ice. And equally important, we'll see what Matt Nass can do on the right side of the battlefield here.
Thing in the Ice in play now for Ely Casis. Matt Nass has that Chromatic Sphere and that Ichor Wellspring. Inventor's Fair, by the way, in play as well. Can be very important for KCI.
Ooh, Casis picking up Ancient Grudge, and notably, Chromatic Sphere is one of the very few of these sort of bauble-type artifacts that you can actually destroy at a profit. Most of the other ones triggering when they hit the graveyard, but I'm a little surprised to see actually Ely not pull the trigger on destroying Chromatic Sphere.
Just passed the turn back over to Matt Nass, no play. Island for Nass, Psymaster Thopterist.
Pretty funny as well that Matt Nass was able to gain a life off of the Inventor's Fair, and 21 is not such a big deal, but if he can get to 22, that's a very significant life total against Thing in the Ice. So that's another incentive for Ely potentially to have pulled the trigger on Ancient Grudge on Chromatic Sphere, is just reducing Matt Nass's life total by 1 point. If that 1 point is the difference between 22 and 21, it could really, really change the game.
Wow, super interesting stuff there, Reed. One of the Ancient Grudges into the yard there off of that Thought Scour. Thing in the Ice ticks down to 2.
Unless I had misjudged Ely's hand. Flame Slash and Ancient Grudge with a pretty similar picture there, and maybe that's just what I was seeing.
Yeah, it could have been.
Maybe he has both. I'm not sure.
Master Thopterist going down to that slash. And here's Surgical Extraction. Ice ticks down to 1. Now, how good is Surgical here, Reed?
It's pretty bad. Ely is using one of his most potent sideboard cards in a very aggressive way, not getting full value out of Surgical Extraction, but just because he really, really values transforming Thing in the Ice this turn, and I don't blame him. 7 points of damage, that dramatically changes the race, but what this means is that he's not going to be able to use his Surgical Extraction to combat the Scrap Trawler aspect of the Ironworks engine.
So Master Thopterist is what's named here. You got to choose a card in a graveyard in order for this to work. So Psy is the target. You could just search your graveyard, hand, and library, take those cards and exile them. And maybe what's one of the grossest pieces of Magic art. It's really cool, but ooh. So Psy gone now as an option for Matt Nass. And he also gets information from his hand, I suppose. There's the Awoken Horror smashing in for 7.
This game remains close. Matt Nass with a draw that's developing well. Ely being somewhat forced to cash in his Surgical Extraction in order to flip that Awoken Horror. Down on resources, remember, from the mulligan to 5. But 7/8 creature is no joke.
Turn goes back over to Matt Nass on 14 after that attack from the Kraken Horror. And there is Crook Clan Ironworks itself on the table from Matt Nass. Shall we start cashing stuff in? And indeed we do. There's our mana tracker. 2 mana from every cash in here from the KCI. Acre Wellspring, also value when it hits the yard, draw a card.
Looks like Matt's plan is just to play 2 Terrarions and pass the turn, attempting to go off next turn instead. This is, again, a technique we've seen him use. He's not impatient. He wants to set up and start a turn with a good chance of going off instead of just running on thin margins and gassing himself out by sacrificing his whole board.
All right, so we're able to deal with Matt Nass's KCI here in another attack with the Awoken Horror, sends him down to 7. Have we set him back enough? Gains a life from that Inventor's Fair.
Matt drew another Ironworks.
Did he really?
Which, in his, to be fair, he could have found one off of Ancient Stirrings, but drawing it for his turn is pretty nice and allows him the flexibility to maybe find Scrap Trawler off of Ancient Stirrings instead. That would be great. But Matt, being the careful player he is, he's going to survey his options. He does have enough mana to activate Inventor's Fair if he would like.
It's the power of those shorts, man.
It seems to be. They got to get me a pair.
No matter the weather, draw the KCI when you need it. Wow, that was gas. All right, here comes another one. One dealt with, a replacement on the way. And once again, we're able to start netting ourselves some mana and drawing some cards here. Two mana in the bank, Terrarion down, draw a card here for Nass.
So Matt can use a tricky rules subtlety, which is he can activate Inventor's Fair, he can declare the ability of Inventor's Fair and use one of his artifacts to pay for it, which is a legal
interesting.
play if he wants to lock in having 3 artifacts to use the Inventor's Fair. That's not the route he's going to take. Instead, he's making colored mana, and he's going to cast Ancient Stirrings.
Taking a look here at the top 5.
Really looking for a cheap artifact. Something like Mox Opal would give him a comfortable amount of mana. Ichor Wellspring, of course, is always nice in order to just get more resources with your Krark-Clan Ironworks. But this game is close. It's definitely not a foregone conclusion whether or not Matt will win this turn. He's already made his land drop. He doesn't have a huge amount of mana. There's Ancient Grudge waiting in Ely Casis' graveyard if Matt has to pass the turn again. And let's not forget, 8 is not a lot of life in the face of an Awoken Horror.
No, certainly not. And we do know that Ely Casis, I mean, we have other ways to get damage through in his deck, certainly, too. There's a look at a man who's just hoping that Nass can't pull it off this turn.
Yeah, and this is the experience a lot of times against Ironworks and many combo decks in Modern. You sort of just do what you can. You present a clock. You make it as difficult as on them as you possibly can, and then you sit back and you see what happens. You know, once you've done what you can, it's sort of up to the Ironworks player to win or lose.
Engineer's Explosives is the choice for Matt Nass here.
Okay, so that's interesting because Matt can either use it as a 0-mana artifact to net some mana with his Ironworks, or he can settle in and try to go to 1 here and then destroy the Awoken Horror by casting Engineered Explosives for 2. Crucially, this is a post-sideboard game, so we're not necessarily expecting Casis to have too many copies of Lightning Bolt left in his deck. Remember, there are haste creatures. Arclight Phoenix could come into play here, but you know, Gut Shot, Lightning Bolt, these aren't really things that I'm expecting him to come up with on this turn.
Let's see if Casis can find something here. Matt Nass at 8, that Awoken Horror attacks for 7.
Can he find a Phoenix? An Arclight Phoenix would do the trick.
All right, we're well on our way here. Faithless Looting. No Phoenix there. All right, so we're going to flash back this Ancient Grudge to deal with the KCI. I'm just going to have to attack for 7.
So yet again, we have that situation. You know what? I've done what I can. Matt Nass, can you win the game? Are you going to have to settle for simply killing my Awoken Horror and give me more chances to find my Arclight Phoenix or present another threat?
I would have loved maximize velocity there. Engineer Explosives on 2 from Nass. Taking care of that thing in the ice. Buried Ruin, the land drop, Ichor Wellspring, draw a card. And back over to Ely, who now has to either get some haste or rebuild. Matt Nass is at 1. There's another thing in the ice. Sleight of hand. What is Gut Shot? Oh, well. Tried for a called shot there. Thing ticks down to 3.
Oh, Matt found another Ironworks.
Did he really?
Yeah, and that, I think, puts him in a pretty good position to win this turn, since he has now a comfortable amount of lands in play. Ichor Wellspring is probably the card you're most excited to start the turn with if you're going off with Krark-Clan Ironworks. Buried Ruin and Inventor's Fair, both very relevant on this board, so I think Matt is pretty likely to find a way here. Fought through 2 Ancient Grudges and a Surgical Extraction on his way to get here.
The power of the shorts, I'm telling you. All right, well, here we go, and Ely Casis has just got to laugh at this third Krark-Clan Ironworks coming out at the perfect moment for Matt Nass. You know what they say, better lucky than good. Well, Matt Nass has got both of those boxes ticked today.
He's really considering this decision. Now, part of what Matt Nass has to think about so hard here is surgical extraction. There are now free spells that Ely Casis can have to disrupt him. So Matt, being the player that he is, he's not only going to try to combo off as efficiently and robustly as he can, he's also going to try to do it while thinking about surgical extraction. Now, whether he can play around that card or not, I don't know, but you better believe he's going to be thinking about it and trying to give himself the best chance to do so.
And you know what, Reed? We saw earlier today a few times, people who, neglected to think about key sideboard cards like that in moments like these, and that's what's going to give you the points, the edges.
Absolutely. It's part of the experience level, both in terms of the number of reps Matt Nass has with this particular deck, but also just the number of times he's been in these high-pressure situations. 5-time Grand Prix champion. Matt Nass has been here before. He's not going to get rattled. He's going to keep his focus.
Like we've said, just another day at the office for Matt Nass with KCI here. Another engineered explosives, once again dealing with another thing in the ice from Ely Casis. Crook Clan Ironworks number 3 into play. Matt Nass at 1. Passes the turn back over to Ely.
I really like the way Matt navigated that, just maximum safety. He's also more comfortably able to make this play because he knows that Ely has only 2 Ancient Grudges, both already in exile, so he can feel a lot more comfortable untapping with Crook Clan Ironworks. The only thing that I'm curious about is why Matt felt the sense of urgency to crack the engineered explosives right away instead of waiting to see if Ely actually had the 3 spells.
Sure.
And here you see it could work out maybe not so well because Ely's able to play another 2-mana permanent that requires him to cast instants and sorceries. So it makes the sequencing a little bit easier on Ely, the fact that Matt decided to go ahead and sacrifice engineered explosives right away.
Chromatic Star here for Matt Nass. Ely passes the turn back over. That's Pyromancer's Ascension, by the by.
A little bit surprised to see that one still in Ely's deck after sideboarding because it doesn't seem like a racing type of card. And additionally, Ely diversifying his spells by bringing in 2 ofs in the form of Ancient Grudge, Ceremonious Rejection, and Surgical Extraction. But maybe it's just enough better than Lightning Bolt that it's worthwhile to have the action card. Matt Nass now with Ironworks in play, but perhaps a little bit stuck.
Interesting. I haven't seen this yet from the KCI deck.
He doesn't have a 3rd artifact to make use of Inventor's Fair, but ooh, that's the one he wanted most, Scrap Trawler.
Ooh, Ceremonious Rejection here from Ely Casis.
And wow, Matt Nass at 1. Suddenly the advantage going in favor of Ely Casis. He's going to have to sacrifice that Chromatic Star and get really lucky here to find something.
All right, he's going to do it. Chromatic Star, sacrifice. What did he find?
I think it was an Ancient Stirrings.
Yeah, I think so too. Stirrings. Young Pyromancer and 1 Elemental in play for Ely Casis.
Oh man, he found Pyrite Spellbomb and Engineered Explosives. Neither is enough to save him from the 2 lethal threats with diverse mana costs. It looks like it's win the game or bust for Matt Nass here, and it doesn't look like he's going to be able to do it.
Wow! What a comeback from Ely Casis, on the verge of death for several turns in a row, Reed, but Matt Nass was unable to close the deal.
Matt Nass really needs Ichor Wellspring to start things moving.
Chromatic Star here, 2 mana. And he's going to just pack them in. Eli Casis evening things up here in game number 2 against Matt Nass with some really key sideboard cards at the right moments.
Yeah, that was quite a game. And if I'm Matt Nass after that one, I'm a little bit rattled because Eli Casis with the mulligan to 5.
That's right.
And my draw was really good. I had all my mana. I had 3 Ironworks all at the right times, and I wasn't able to put it together. I mean, I would be rattled. Matt Nass not necessarily going to be rattled because he knows the score with this deck. He knows that sometimes, it's the little margins that matter, and he's going to keep his focus for game number 3. But that really changes my opinion of the matchup here. Eli, even on low number of resources, the combination of Thing in the Ice plus a couple well-placed disruption spells, really an effective recipe at beating Ironworks. If he could do the same thing in game 3, he might be on to the finals.
Do you think Matt Nass ever had an opportunity to win, but because he was playing it a little bit safer, he didn't take it?
Yeah, I do. I like the way that Matt played for the most part, but there were a lot of really, really tricky decisions in there and subtle spots where he could either choose to progress his own game plan or defend himself against Eli's threats. In each of those cases, electing to go for engineered explosives to kill off Thing in the Ice. And the end result was that, his deck didn't deliver on his last couple of draw steps. A few too many lands, not enough artifacts remaining to use his Inventor's Fair. And you wonder what might have been if he had focused a little bit more on greed and putting more cards into his hand, more artifacts into play, instead of combating those Things in the Ice.
I can give you a little update on our other table here in the semis. They are currently in game 3 for Alex Olson and Hunter Cochran. All right, here we go. We are underway in game number 3, the deciding game here in this match of our semifinals. Matt Nass versus Eli Casis. Izzet Phoenix versus Clark Clan Ironworks. Terrarian in play for Matt Nass. Eli Casis sculpting his hand here at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, the early turns of this matchup, mostly about setup. What Eli Casis can do on turn 2 and 3 is going to be important for determining the texture of the game. I see he has 2 Arclight Phoenixes. The question is, does he have a way to discard them?
Let's find out. Here we are. Action back on Eli Casis. Ichor Wellspring was the play for Matt Nass. I see a Manamorphose in hand, a couple of Arclight Phoenixes. What else does he have? Thinking carefully about this play here. First things first.
All right, so he's not going to get greedy going for the Manamorphose. I see that he found Faithless Looting, which means we can expect those Phoenixes to come crashing in next turn.
Top there for Eli Casis.
But the question you got to ask yourself is, how many next turns do you have against Matt Nass playing Clark Clan Ironworks?
Sometimes, in some games, this is it.
Yeah, that's true. A Mox Opal and an Ironworks, and Matt Nass could realistically win the game this turn. I don't expect that to necessarily happen, but it's within the realm of possibility. Ooh, instead it looks like Matt perhaps struggling to hit his land drops. This is big.
Chromatic Sphere was a draw.
Oh, and a major setback for Matt Nass, missing his 3rd land drop. No Mox Opal, no Mind Stone, no anything. He's stuck on 2 mana, far away, light years away from that crucial 4.
Meanwhile, land number 3 here for Eli Casis. And we're going to see some big attacks here this turn. Something I love about Eli playing this deck is just how careful he is with every decision and how deliberate.
Yeah, we've raved about how intricate and challenging the Ironworks deck is, but this Is It Phoenix deck is no joke either. The sequencing, just, a subtle decision like turn 2, Ely could have just started his turn with Manamorphose, hope to get lucky, draw into an Is It Charm or a Faithless Looting to get those Phoenixes going, but instead he takes the conservative route, makes the judgment call to use Serum Vision instead. That's the type of thing that might not be obvious the first time or the 10th time or the 100th time you pick up this deck. It's only when you really master it and you've seen all the patterns and all the situations before you that you can really make those decisions with proficiency.
Manamorphose here into a Faithless Looting, and here we go. Those Phoenixes are going to hit the yard for Ely Casis. But they won't stay there for long. Here we have the Is It Charm from Casis.
So that's the third spell.
Couple of lands to discard. Back the Phoenixes come, swinging in for 6. Matt Nass falls to 14.
All right, Matt, the pressure's on. At minimum, you need to hit your third land drop, but really you need to do a lot on this turn because this is the turn when shields are down. Now Casis has established some pressure, and he can start passing the turn with open mana, Surgical Extraction, Ceremonious Rejection, Ancient Grudge. These are the cards that you're going to have to fight through starting after this turn, so make the most of this window.
There's Ancient Stirrings from Matt Nass. In your opinion, what would making the most of this window look like for Matt Nass?
Well, I mean, he's got to hit that third land drop. In a perfect world, he could have a third land drop and a Mox Opal, maybe play another Ichor Wellspring, put himself in as robust position as possible to try to play Krark-Clan Ironworks and go off the following turn. Because you have to expect after Ely has had 3 turns to sculpt his hand, he's going to have some kind of disruption ready for you. So this is not going to be some kind of easy Goldfish type game where you get to have everything go your way. He's going to have to combo in the face of some serious disruption next turn if he can even make it that far.
All right, well, he's found the Mox Opal, another Ancient Stirrings here. Finds him Krark-Clan Ironworks, and he's got a land.
Okay, well, I have to say, Matt Nass made the most of that turn.
Certainly
He set
did.
himself up pretty well. Now, let's see what Casis can do.
All right, here we go. Ely Casis. 2 Arc Light Phoenixes in play. Can he add to the damage this turn? And like you mentioned, a lot he has to be concerned with too is protecting himself.
We will be closing registration for our regular on-demand events at 6 o'clock.
Thought Scour here.
Less than half an hour.
Dumps a Manamorphose in an island and a draw is the Arclight Phoenix. A little backwards there.
Or a Commander on-demand event. You should come find us at the registration desk.
But it's all right. We've got Faithless Looting here.
This is really challenging from Casis' perspective. I like what he's doing here. He's going to use Faithless Looting, which can discard not only the Arclight Phoenix, putting Matt on a 2-turn clock, but he can also discard his Ancient Grudge, which crucially reduces the mana cost by 1, allowing him perhaps to use... Oh, yeah, he just has it all at this point. He has Ancient Grudge and Ceremonious Rejection and Surgical Extraction. Matt Nass is a Krark-Clan Ironworks god, but I don't even think he can fight through all of that disruption.
So another Arclight Phoenix into the graveyard. Faithless Looting as well. Have we hit 3 this turn?
No, we're at 2.
We've got a land drop and a Surgical in hand near the front for Casis if he wants to do anything about that. Probably not. And we've seen this play from him before. Flame slashing his own creature to help trigger and bring it back from the graveyard. Smashing in for 9. Back over to Matt Nass, who has dropped down to 5 life. And like you said, Ely Casis has it all, Reed. Can Matt Nass battle through all the hate living in Casis's hand?
So we have to expect that this turn is going to begin with Matt Nass casting Corkland Ironworks and Ely Casis casting Ceremonious Rejection. Now, Matt Nass has 1 Swan Song in his 75, so if he can make a land drop and have Swan Song, no.
He cannot, and he extends the hand that is Ely Casis taking down KCI Combo Master Matt Nass here in the semifinals. And Ely Casis advances to the finals here at Grand Prix Oakland with Is It Phoenix. Wow.
Admirable run by Matt Nass.
Absolutely.
Even though he didn't make it a 3rd Grand Prix title with this deck, he really cemented himself, proved to everyone that it has not been a fluke. Even with this deck, having a target on its head, being a known quantity, he can still put up these results, still play it to an extremely high level of proficiency. Great job to Matt Nass. Great job as well to Ely Casis. You mentioned that win making the finals locks up Platinum in the Pro Players Club, and he's got a shot at the title now. Good job to Ely.
Let's check in here on our other semifinals match, who I said about 10,000 years ago had gone to Game 3. Well, guess what? We're still in it. Hunter Cochran on the left side of your screen, also playing Corkland Ironworks, and Alex Olson, our lone white-blue control player.
This game looks close. These guys are right in it here. Alex Olson down to 2 life. Looks like he's got the combo element of the Ironworks deck in check, but look at those Thopter tokens threatening his life total.
Yes. 3 Thopters in play. Alex Olson is at 2 life, everybody. Hunter Cochran at 17. Olson's got a Teferi on 6, Snapcaster Mage, a couple of Rest in Peace in play, 3 Thopters, and a Scrap Trawler.
Oh, I think we tuned it at the right time. We're going to see a counterspell battle right now. Alex Olson forced to tap down these Thopters to survive.
There's a negate on this Cryptic Command, and a Cryptic Command on the negate. Look at all this mana.
All right, that might have been the window that he needs.
Master Thopterist.
Does he have more Cryptic Commands? Does he have a Board Sweeper in his deck? Can he just piece together enough spot removal to deal with these Thopters? It's a tall order, but he seems to have a lot of resources, a lot of things going right for him.
Mox Opal for Hunter. Another Thopter. Chromatic Star. Another Thopter.
Oh, man.
Last card in hand, that's right. KCI.
Hunter Cochran not letting up at all here. Really forcing Alex Olson to have it. Do you have a Board Sweeper? Do you have another Cryptic Command? Snapcaster Mage won't do it because of those Rest in Pieces.
Back over to Alex's turn. Teferi ticks up to 7. Jace the Mind Sculptor.
He's got a lot of cards in hand, but I don't really see
gosh.
any that get him out of this situation. He can fetch. He can take another look with Serum Visions.
How many cards are left in his library? Not very many. Goes and finds a Plains. That's right, there were still lands left in there. Serum Visions. White-blue digging for any way to get himself out of this mess that KCI has concocted using Master Thopterist. All right, let's find a replacement Jace for our Jace.
Oh, he found Cryptic Command.
Wow, he was digging for that.
But still only a temporary solution.
That's
Is he just
right.
going to face the same exact problem next turn?
I remember him having Terminus earlier. Next turn to Ferry would go up to 8.
Don't forget, Hunter Cochran has a lot going on his side of the battlefield. He can start sacrificing artifacts to Sai to draw cards. You got to figure finding a permission spell would be big here. Perhaps not in terms of winning a counterspell battle against Alex Olson, but at least in terms of choking his mana up.
All right, here we go. Alex Olson passes the turn back over to Hunter Cochran. Untaps with his army of Thopter, Scrap Trawler, and Sai. Plays a land for turn. Vendilion click here from Alex Olson. Nature's Claim.
Okay, so Cryptic Command hitting the stack, presumably tapping Hunter Cochran's team and drawing a card for Alex Olson. What is Hunter going to do in response? Sacrifice some artifacts to his Sai.
Draws a Chromatic Star, I believe.
Don't forget, he could just combo off this turn. Shields are down for Alex Olson. He already has one Nature's Claim in hand. If he finds another or an Engineered Explosives to get rid of those Rest in Pieces, game on. Got all the pieces in play. Also, I mean, Pyrite Spellbomb just kills Alex Olson outright.
Yes, it does. Alex Olson has fallen to 1. Gosh, I can't imagine what it would have been like to build this KCI deck from the ground up, searching for cards and being like, Ichor Wellspring, yeah, get that in there. Star, Thopter. Hunter Cochran passes the turn back over to Alex Olson, who is at 1, our white-blue control player. I think out of Cryptics at this point. I guess he could have one more hiding in there, but... There's Ferry ticking down.
Is he making an attack here?
Sure is.
This looks like 13.
In come the Celestial Colonnades.
Oh, and a concession from Alex Olson. I think that's Hunter Cochran winning the game unless we had life totals wrong. Yeah,
yes, indeed.
He was out. He'd spent his whole library, didn't have anything left to get himself out of that situation.
Well, there you go. Hunter Cochran with Corp Clan Ironworks takes down Alex Olson with white-blue control. Congrats to Alex Olson on a tremendous run and a great deck choice, honestly, for this weekend in white-blue control. Hunter Cochran, KCI advancing to our finals, facing Ely Casis on Is It Phoenix. Ooh, this is going to be a age-old battle at this point, Reed, at least for us in the booth this weekend.
At this point, yeah, Ely Casis, he did it last round. Let's see if he can do it again, knock off just one more Corp Clan Ironworks deck to take the Grand Prix Oakland title.
Wow. Okay, so just your prediction in the finals. We've seen it go either way. What do you think is going to happen?
I have to say 2-1 in favor of Ely Casis. I think his sideboard plan is really effective. He knows the matchup. He's piloting his deck really, really well. He's used to this pressure. I wouldn't bet against him at this point.
Well, awesome stuff. All right, everybody, don't go anywhere. The finals are coming up here at Grand Prix Oakland.